Hello students and welcome to this video about assignment 2. So to access assignment 2, come to the course app, which you can access through the Canvas page. Note that once you open this up, you can make it a bookmark and then you don't have to go back to the Canvas page every time. So you may want to bookmark our course app. Then you're going to come to assignments and scroll down to assignment 2. And download each of these files, our Markdown file and the PDF file. After that, you'll open up the RStudio IDE and set the working directory to the folder that has those files that you downloaded. Now, you may want to shift them from your downloads into your Calculus 1 folder, but the idea is to get the working directory set up. Now, you can do that by going to Session, Set Working Directory, choose Working Directory. And if you use this toolbar up here, you will see the code run in the console. A keyboard shortcut to accomplish that is Control-Shift-H. So Control-Shift-H is a keyboard shortcut to open up this Choose Working Directory box, and you can also use that tool. Now, right now I'm using the Cobalt theme. So when you open up your IDE, you may want to come to Tools, Global Options, Appearance, and you may want to come to Cobalt or Vibrant Ink is another one I like. For now, I'll stick with the Cobalt. Or you could even try Dracula. Maybe we'll try that one. Under pane layout, remember to arrange the 4 panes in a way that you like. So my way of arranging these panes is as follows. And that's because I like to minimize the one on the lower left so that my source pane can be really big and I can look at the code that I'm working with. All right, to open up the file, the question file, you click on it. So here it says a2questions.rmd. I will click on that file and it opens up. Now in your case, you may get a little message up here at the top that is asking you whether you want to install some packages. So remember that you need to install the packages before you can work with them, and that can be accomplished right here on this Packages tab. And then you go to Install. And if you're connected to the internet, then it will allow you to install the packages. So if you try to run the first code chunk and the packages have not been installed, you'll get a little red bar on the side and an error message saying the package doesn't exist. Now I like to have my environment pane open, and I'm going to clear it out. And then I have my console up here. So you see the cursor blinking. This little symbol here is called the prompt symbol, meaning that the IDE is ready to accept a new command. Okay, so here's our header at the top of our Markdown file. So remember, you're going to come up here to the author, highlight whatever name is there, use this Find Replace tool and replace it with your name. Like if your name is Jose Martin, then you might do that. And then you would click All, and everywhere in the file where it said John Garza, now it will say Jose Martin. Here is a R code chunk. It begins with 3 backticks, which is at the upper left corner of your keyboard. Then you have the curly brace. R is for the R language. Setup is the name of the code chunk, and one place that's reflected is down here. If you go way down here to this little orange box, you can get this outline, and the chunks can be given names, like setup. Okay, so you can click the green triangle and it will run the code chunk, and the code will be reflected over here. Notice if you have an error, or if your code generates a warning, it will be reflected up here in the console. So that's one reason I want the console on the upper right, so that I can see the error messages or outputs from the code that I run. There's at least 3 ways to run the code chunk. You can use the green triangle, or you can come up here where it says run, or you can do Control-Shift-Enter. So I like to use Control-Shift-Enter, but you may want to just hit the green triangles initially. So here's question 1. You are supposed to solve for a limit. So here we have some LaTeX code in between these dollar signs. And we're supposed to use R to create a plot that allows us to evaluate a limit. Okay. And then we'll create a ggplotly object, and then we'll use that to add points onto our plot. And then we're going to go ahead and put in some handwritten work and see how that can be included into our file. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, to make this easier on myself, I'm going to open up the solution PDF, and you have access to this, and I'm going to split my screen. So if you have a Windows computer, use the Windows symbol and the arrow to split your screen into 2 sides. Okay. And once I do that, I want to minimize the right side panes so I have more space to work with. So let's go ahead and kind of practice entering the code here. Now, to make it quick on myself, I'm just going to copy the code. I don't recommend you do that. You want to practice entering the code. Now, let's talk about a few things. If you copy and paste like this, then the symbols don't translate the way they should. So here's an error message. It doesn't know what this hat is. That's not matching up with the hat symbol that we need. So I got to go in there and put that in. Notice that on either side of a binary operator, I've put a space. If you did not do that, the code will still work. However, this is a part of the style guide, and it's a recommended practice to make the code easier on your eyes. Okay. Here's the assignment arrow, and temporarily we're going to look at the environment. So if I go to the environment tab, right now it's empty. And if I do Control Enter, I can run one line at a time. And now I have the value A in my environment and the function F. Note you can click on a function, and then this little box opens up and it gives you the R code that contains the body of the function. Okay. All right. Let's go back and split our screen again. Okay. Now we want to create a plot, and one of the strategies that can be used to create plots is to first create the data that we want to plot. So we can get a bunch of XY pairs and then use those and connect the dots. And to do that, we're going to build what is called a tibble. So here I'm putting in my tibble. Now when I grade your work, if you don't have this type of horizontal spacing, I'm not sure I will, but I may take off points if I suspect you're just copying and pasting. I find that having these horizontal indentations helps me to scan over the code and see a structure within the code, as opposed to just having it bunched up all on the left side. So make sure you add this in there. Now this is a tibble. So I can do Control Enter just to run this collection of code, this complete statement. Then I can go back to my environment. And now in the environment, we have something in data, and you have this blue dot. So you can either click on it there, okay, or you can click on it here, and now you can view it. Okay, so a tibble is a rectangle of information, and the columns which go up and down define the tibble. Okay, so we have an X column and a Y column. Okay. Now we want to create a plot. And I'm going to demonstrate using the code snippets to do this somewhat quickly. Let me just take a look at, we have Geom line, Geom V line, labs, and theme. So it looks like a lot of stuff, and it is. It would take some time for you to develop some familiarity and experience in working with the system, but it is a good system. And if you use a code snippets like I'm going to demonstrate, it ends up kind of being easier to do. So let's go ahead and make a plot. So I'm going to type G, and then I do alternate minus to get my assignment arrow, and then I do GG plot. And I have a code snippet. So if you have a code snippet, you don't have to type everything in. You can just kind of let it come out for you and then adjust the details as needed. The next one I'm going to do is a Geom line. Okay. And then the next one was Geom V line. Okay. And maybe I can change this to be dark green. Maybe I can change this one to be dark red. And maybe I can change this to from solid to dashed if I want. Then I can do my labs. All this pops up. And I'll call this exploring limits. Okay, and then my X could be X values, and my Y could be Y values. And then I could put in my theme, which I've already have set up. And then I can display the plot. And then I can do Control-Shift-Enter to see what the plot looks like. And there's my plot. So now I want to use this to try and understand what is the limit as the red curve is approaching this green vertical line. That can be done with ggplotly, ggplotly. I put in G and then I run this. And when I run that, I then have this kind of interactive tool that I can use to explore what's happening. So when I get close to the green line at 3, it looks like negative 13.5. Okay. So now I can use that in the following way. I'm going to say G plus geom point, right? And the X will be a negative 3. The Y will be negative 13.5. And then we're going to make it a black diamond. Okay. And if we want, we could also add geom text. And put this at negative 3. Put this one at negative 13.5. And what the label is going to say is, okay, it's going to be in quotes with open parentheses, negative 3, comma, negative 13.5. And then we could make some adjustments because we want it to appear on the side. So I could say nudge x equals 1. Right, then we're going to run this and see what we get. Okay, so this is way too far to the right. So clear this up. Note I used Control J to clear up the screen. So now I'm going to come over here and make the nudge x be 0.1. And we'll try again. That's bad. It needs to be more than that. 2. That's better. Okay. All right. Another thing you want to do, okay, is you can, if I do Control R, I can insert a code chunk. Note if you come up here, you can insert a code chunk. I've set it up where I have a keyboard shortcut. But if you want to save the image, you can work with a ggsave function. and we'll call this, just call this image.png. And then you can either use, you don't want to use last plot there necessarily, and we can save this, right? And then we have it saved into our files. Now, what if you want to include handwritten work into your file? Okay. So on my computer, if I want to do this, I need to make this, I need to set the working directory. So I put in set wd, and now I have set the working directory. And I want an image of the handwritten work to come out. So down here I have A2 PDF, and I can use the include graphics function. Okay. And now I'm going to try and knit up the assignment. So when I'm all done with my work and I'm ready for it to be turned into the report, I can come up here and click knit. And if everything works correctly, you'll see it processing over here in the console. And then after a while, the PDF will be created. So here it is. And this is what Jose Martin could submit onto Canvas. Okay? He has his code here, his LaTeX symbols. Right? There's the plot he made. Then he added this black diamond with what he thinks the answer is. Saved it. And then here's the handwritten work. Okay. All right. So that is the file that would be turned in on Canvas. Note, if you make a PDF, you can't have the Plotly image come out. And the way we suppressed the printing of the Plotly image was through this code chunk option eval. So when you start a code chunk, you put the language you're going to use, like R. Then you can have code chunk options. So echo equals true means the code will be reflected in the final report, which we just saw. But eval equals false means that when you knit the document, it will not try to run that code. And that was important. Otherwise, you would have gotten an error message that you can't make a PDF with the Plotly interactive stuff. Okay. All right. Don't forget, if you want to insert a code chunk, you can come up here and just click R. Or you go to Modify Keyboard Shortcuts, and then you filter to Insert. You can see what I've done for Python or for R. I have Control P or Control R respectively, and that allows me to put in a code chunk very quickly. Okay. All right, that is it for this video, and I will see you on the next. I'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.